My name's Bobby, and my institution.
Wait, what is this?
Where? What was it? All right, so the basis for my idea was taboo, the idea of taboo, which basically any social prohibition, words, objects, actions, anything that's offensive to a culture or society, comes in many different forms: religious, social, political, even. They're most commonly accepted by a few and rejected by the majority of the community, and there's not much compromise. And usually people are considered social outcasts. But it's more of a, mostly, in this example, a means for expressing individuality. I believe that a person's unwillingness to accept something new or different is what ultimately leads to something becoming a taboo. So ignorance would be the cause of most of them. So, I mean, people who don't give things a chance and just take things based on their bad reputations is what leads to taboos forming in the first place. So the first step in our project was to make a sculpture that attempted to portray our idea, and I tried to show my interpretation of Red Hook, which was a community that's known for its bad reputation. So in my sculpture, the ping pong ball in the middle represents the community, and the pipe cleaners, the bad reputation that kind of block it out. People stay away from it for that reason. So saying that, I believe that Red Hook itself can be considered taboo, and it's, it's an isolated community. It's cut off by the DQE. It has a bad reputation, and people kind of ignore it and avoid it because of its reputation. And it's segregated from the rest of Brooklyn. And on top of that, I think that the grain terminal can also be considered taboo on a different scale and a little different level, because it's a broken down, abandoned building. It's got this concrete wall that separates it, so it's also cut off from Red Hook, the same way Red Hook's cut off from Brooklyn. So I think that in order for someone to change their opinion of a taboo, they have to go through a process to understand it. Most people, automatically push themselves away from it. They know all the bad reputation about it, so they ignore it. But if you go through a process to understand it, you might, come out looking at it differently. So my hope is that the museum will be the key that draws people into the community, and then from there they can disperse to the rest of Red Hook and explore it and hopefully develop their own opinion about it. So the museum is actually meant to be the exhibit of Red Hook. It'll draw people into the community, and from there they'll explore the rest of it. Much like the pyramid at the Louvre, it's the symbol, and people know it as that, and hopefully the museum will replace the grain terminal as the symbol of Red Hook. And in order for people to understand and eventually accept a taboo or Red Hook or anything, they have to gather their own information on a subject. They have to be exposed to it, they have to experience it, and then they have to compress all that down to their own opinion, rather than basing their opinion on other things that they hear and see. And a process has to take place in order to see the whole picture. It's easier to, when you take things in little bits, it's easy to understand its flaws and shortcomings rather than looking at the whole picture and trying to gather an opinion from that. So my museum is meant to literally represent this process, the process of building, construction, understanding. It's a series of 7 structures that show the building process from the ground up, and eventually leading to a finished building. And walking through the entrance hopefully draws you in because of that. And although the final structure is the only one that's a completed building, all of them are still going to be used as exhibition spaces, since the whole idea is that visitors are meant to be learning. From the second they step inside, all the wall space is going to be used with paintings, images, sculptures, ideas, writings, anything. And it's all about the exposure and experience. So the museum is comprised of 7 structures. Like I said, it's got a hallway that runs down the middle. And the hallway is meant to give people, 2 paths of circulation, like a choice. It's just like they have the choice of coming into Red Hook in the first place and going by the grain terminal in the first place. So the 2 paths of circulation are meant to be people's choice. And the first path is being the path of ignorance, where they can walk through the hallways and completely ignore all the exhibits that are on the outside if they don't want to be exposed to, you know, the taboo exhibits that are out there or whatever they might be. They can easily just walk down the center hallway and ignore them. And I relate that to the BQE because it's the path of ignorance. You can easily drive right over it and ignore Red Hook and, you know, not stop, whatever. You know, it's like it's not even there when you drive over it. The second path is the opposite. You can walk around the rest of the museum. You can see all the exhibits. It's basically everything except the hallway because hopefully a person will have the urge to explore and expose themselves to new ideas, even if they might not agree with it fully or understand it. The point of visiting is to try to understand it. So at the entrance and exit of every section, they have the option of switching paths, but hopefully they'll see that one path really leads them nowhere, and the other one really opens them up to new ideas. And the first path of ignorance, actually ends in a dead end. So hopefully it shows them that really it got them nowhere, and being ignorant really can't learn anything that way. So the exhibits are broken up into 6 sections, and in each section of the museum it rotates. So when someone does decide to explore, they don't know what they're going to see. They're really letting themselves open up to any and every idea that's in that museum. They don't really have a choice of what they're going to see. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, visitors should have a better perspective of the idea of taboos, and when they leave, they'll look at Red Hook differently. Hopefully they'll explore it with an open mind and more understanding, and they'll develop their own opinion. That's it.
Thank you.